Are you noticing your car insurance rate creep up even without tickets or claims? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry handles the legwork by comparing quotes side by side from over 50 top insurers so you can confidently hit buy. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Jerry even tracks rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Don't settle for higher rates. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/libsyn today. That's jerry.ai/libsyn.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Clint, how are you?
I'm good.
You know, it is so crazy to think about how different your career is now versus when you first started. And today we're going to talk about being filmed on the job and what it does to the mind of a first responder. But this does not just apply to first responders. I'm thinking about the way that working in the medical field, when I first started, I can access anybody's chart and check out anything that I wanted to. And of course, as time went on, there would be protocols put into place to where basically if you didn't have a reason to be accessing something, then you shouldn't be, and it would be tracked and monitored and then flagged if you did. And so I think this is the same across the board. You know, you could work in the records department at a police department and it's the same thing. If you shouldn't be checking something out, technology has really enhanced the way that things like this are monitored. But for the sake of today's episode, I wanted to talk about just how much the mind of a first responder is actually affected because of these phone cameras, bystanders, social media clips that are edited for outrage, and just all of the things associated with today's modern technology as it pertains to being recorded.
We as first responders deal with so much technology and the changes, really thinking about it throughout my career I remember when I was in training, I had a old school flip phone with really crappy pictures on it. And because I think of some of, I remember this specific traffic collision I went on, and it was just a peculiar one. No one was hurt on it. It was 5 cars literally stacked up like a totem pole. And I remember this specific picture I had taken with that phone, and seeing how much it's transformed from then to now, just in my career, it's crazy. I remember in my first 5 years of my career, we were talking about having cameras in our units that, every time our lights are activated, it turns on the forward-facing camera to record everything that's going on, and our union was pushing back against it. And now we move forward 15 years from then, and now everyone has cameras everywhere we go, and not only from their cell phones recording us, but then our body-worn cameras recording anything and everything that we're doing. And it's becoming a great tool to not only protect our officers, but to actually highlight the truth behind the incident, and not having those edited video clips that people kind of piece together and oh, look, these officers are bad. Well, then you don't see everything else that happened with it.
You know, the modern first responder operates in this environment where every decision, every word, every reaction is potentially the next viral moment, one that's very close to becoming the next national headline, which no officer wants. And it's important to explore the psychological weight of the reality of this, because if you think about, let's say, the last time that I had surgery, you don't have those surgeon's hands in my body being recorded. We don't have access to footage like that. And you can take that same concept and apply it to most other fields. And so the psychological concept we're going to talk about is performance anxiety and hyper-scrutiny stress. And this occurs when individuals have to perform high-stakes, split-second decisions while simultaneously being aware that every action is being recorded, it might be judged, it might be placed out of context for audiences that were never even present.
And that's where I think if you act the same way you would with the camera on or the camera off, you're setting yourself up for success, because unless you're doing really shady stuff all the time, but when you start practicing this and you get into the notion of this is who I am, this is how I'm going to respond to it based off your training and experience, you're being able to set yourself up for success in those instances. And it's not going to give you that pause to think of, well, how is this going to look?
Something that really stresses me out is, as a wife of a police officer, but Clint, I feel very confident in your training and your experience, is the notion that so much has transpired that makes officers second guess or even have that fraction of a second to be able to challenge their own decisions because of the public scrutiny. And this creates this sort of dual cognitive load, I think, having the potential of being filmed on the job, because you're managing the actual situation while managing the perceived optics at the same time.
And I've seen this firsthand with different officers, is they second guess themselves and they're worried about making a decision. They're worried about responding to a situation the way they need to, because there's that fear of, well, if this gets caught on camera, it's going to look bad. Well, it's not necessarily. It's if you're responding in the way you're trained, you don't have to worry about that, because no matter what, you're always going to be Monday morning quarterbacked. I don't care what situation it's in. You will be judged. You're going to be you will be that viral video at some point, and it's not fun. It's not fun having to go through that experience, but being able to say, look, this is my factual background for why I did what I did.
Yeah, and something I never hear anybody talk about is leadership is failing these police officers and these departments, because while this has been such a big change that has been implemented and taken place just in a natural way, let's say, there has been no training to be able to assist in any way for police officers. And a lot of the times, this type of psychological concept that we're discussing, it's going to look like not only second guessing decisions that once felt like they were instinctive, but a lot of the times too, you might have increased anxiety before you even go to the calls or during the calls. You have a lot of emotional exhaustion from that constant awareness of being watched, which must be just brutal. That frustration and that resentment towards the public or the media, and then the fear of doing the right thing and then still being misrepresented.
Yeah, there's always going to be those fears. And I think it's something that if we start formulating our own mind, especially with every incident, that we are going to be judged on it. But if you're able to do things the right way for the right reasons, more times than not, you will be covered by your department.
Yeah, and there are ways that being filmed, I think, is actually affecting first responders that's important to kind of bring light on, because if this is you, then it's important to know when this is happening to you and what might need to be done in order to be able to rectify things. And for some people, decision making is slowing down under the weight of that scrutiny. And when officers hesitate, it's not always uncertainty, but sometimes it's just out of self-protection these days.
And that's where, like, I've seen that shift where we're out on a call for service or we're out doing a traffic stop, and you see the cell phone come out from someone that's not involved with that, whatever it may be, start recording, and you see the almost demeanor shift from officers and draw all their attention to them. And it's why? What is the point behind that? Like, let them, as long as they're not impeding in your investigation, like, let them record it.
Yeah, the flip side to that too is that I have literally seen the physical changes in officers that are a little too up there high on their horses, to where the camera comes out and something is said of like, hey, I'm recording you, and then you see their shoulders drop, or like they try like, oh shit, like I just got checked.
Yeah, and that's where you have that response, because you should be acting the same whether the camera's on you or off of you. And when you start formulating your decisions like you're always being recorded, not second guessing yourself, but being able to know how you're backed and what your legal justifications are leading up to that point, then you're not having to worry about anything.
The psychological impact of being filmed on the job is one of the most under-addressed stressors in modern law enforcement and emergency services, in my opinion. And I think a lot of training, as I said, needs to just be created and developed and implemented in agencies so that you don't feel that, and then you don't become victim of it either. And there are ways to be able to protect your mind in a world where you're always being watched. And the first is to just separate your decision from the clip. The context matters even when the camera doesn't capture it.
Yeah, being able to have those decisions and make them because you're justified in, being able to articulate things out and treat others as you would want to be treated. Like if you start like formulating any and all responses towards every situation that way, it's like just like our body cameras on all the time. It's speak to it, like talk to it, talk yourself through it, because that's not only going to help you on the back end. It's going to make they're not going to gain that traction against you. I mean, if you really thought about it, is if more and more officers would start having that training and experience of how to mitigate those negative responses towards any given situation, you would see a lot less of those viral clips out there.
Yeah, and learn to debrief after high scrutiny incidents and not just the critical ones. I think that emotional processing, it can't wait for things to go viral. And, if there's that thing that is pulling at you after a particular incident, maybe you're worried, did they catch that on camera, for example? Be the one to speak up first and explain things, because the last thing you want is that viral clip and you didn't say anything about it, even though you knew that you should have, and then you're having to defend yourself.
Yeah, and it's funny. A story just came to mind. Is my guys were talking about, we were doing a special operation, and they're like, well, what if we became viral on YouTube like so and so? And I look at them and I go, what would be the difference of how we would respond if the camera's rolling and if it wasn't? And they all looked at me and go, well, you're right. And so you can't be fearful of what's going to happen if those cameras come out. It's being able to respond in the way that anyone would, in whether the cameras are rolling or not.
I hope you've gotten some value from today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.
Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.